Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
All right, so I'm sure it's top of mind for every organization in the world, probably, what's happening with LLMs and ChatGPT. My name is Baruch Toledano, and I lead the product at SimilarWeb as it relates to our search intelligence. Every day, I'm actually a very lucky guy to work with some of the smartest guys with the intersection between data, platform, but more important, I would say, is human behavior. Now, we're all experiencing a major shift over the past 18 months that is being unfolding in front of us. It's not just that the search is actually evolving, it's actually how people are choosing to find information and to get the answers that they want, make decisions, and actually explore the world beyond the search box. Today, I actually want to walk you through that journey, grounded in real user data, over billions of digital moments that we're able to track. Because sometimes the way forward for us SEO is not to predict what the future will be, is actually to watch what is actually unfolding in front of us in the present. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do in the next 15 minutes. I'm actually going to walk you through the entire search journey. And I'm going to start with the users, right? Which is, what are the users are actually searching on these tools and compare them next to, of course, Google and how different it is. Next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about how different are these answers that they are getting and where the traffic is actually going. And lastly, we're going to look after the click, what is really going on. Throughout this talk, I'm going to use the word Gen AI, LLMs, and I'm going to use it interchangeably, but I probably mean the one thing you guys probably do quite a bit is going lately to ChatGPT. Okay, so to ground us up, what I want us to first look at an example for travel. I'm going to start with Google, and we're going to think about it for a second because we do it every day, right? We put lots of different individual inputs. We're looking for a place to go have a vacation. We're looking for which hotels we want to go after, what excursions we want to do. We then go to different ODAs and try to find the best price for our flights. And each one of them is serving us an output of one SERP. And maybe we convert, maybe we don't. Maybe we come a few days later. Now, in contrast, just to remember what's happening on LLMs, I'm going to tell the LLM everything I can as an input. How old am I? How many kids I have? What kind of a vacation I'm looking to do? What kind of food I'm interested? How long I want to go from one place to another? And what's my budget at the end of the day? And lo and behold, these wonderful LLMs are giving us a fantastic itinerary that we're all probably happy and ask us, do you want some improvement? Maybe you want a different restaurant? So we may refine it and change it, but that's a very different experience. Okay, so let's start with the first part of the journey, which is the input. Probably some of you have seen a similar kind of like a chart out there with every influencer that we all are probably following about the growth of ChatGPT. And it's true. Actually, our data is actually pointing out to this, which is Google, yes, it's very much at the top when it comes to the UK in 2024. But when we're looking at visits at ChatGPT, we're seeing an average number of visits per month that was at about 3 million back in January 2023. Now we're getting about 17 million every month. Now that's, if you think about it, that's not just a shift in a platform, it's an actual shift in intent. And so the amount of traffic that they're actually benefiting from the last year, okay, in ChatGPT has been grown. And actually, repeat visits are coming at 35% higher than where they were coming this time last year. Now, put it in perspective. That means every 3 days, a person in the UK is going to go to ChatGPT. I'm sure you guys are going more because you guys are more advanced, but just to put this a bit in perspective. Okay, so I've talked a little bit, but when we're trying to understand that user input at scale, right? Think about Google, right? We're typically having a search that is going on an average between 3 to 4 words, right? ChatGPT has about 88.1 words. Now, yes, it's a big number, but let's put it in context. When we go to ChatGPT also, we're asking to do some work for us. Can you craft an email, right? Can you do this particular image for me? But we also have seen similar queries like Google's in informational query. And on average, the informational query, where, when, how, all these type of queries that we put, on average, we've seen about 37 words. Put it in perspective, that's 10x more, if not 11x more, of an input that goes into the ChatGPT. And the growth of our prompting skills is just getting bigger and bigger. So we're putting even longer and longer prompt, and with it, the same thing is actually happening with the informational query. We're not giving up, and we're making them even better. Now, here's what caught our attention. Over the same period at Google, what we've noticed is actually a 2% shift, and that's a big shift at Google, of having more navigational queries. That means when you put actually the website itself. People want to go to a specific domain or some kind of a brand that they have in mind. So really, is Google becoming a navigational tool for us? And are we as SEO need to start to worry more about our branded terms? Okay, so just to close on the inputs, right? Searches are actually changing from keywords maybe to stories and conversations. The user intent also dictates the search engine or the LLM. You might go here or you might go there, and they have synergies between them. But what's fascinating about it is actually users are very much open to this change. Okay, so we saw the input. Now comes the interesting part, the output, right? Which is actually what is mentioned and what type of traffic we're going to see. Okay, so before I'm going to share with you a little bit what's going on here, to better illustrate how the traffic is showing up and how things are showing up between the two, I'm going to look in the last year, right, on the travel industry between the full year in 2024 on clicks in Google versus ChatGPT brand mentions. And as you can see, we're starting to see some of the suspects we would have seen. EasyJet, Skyscanner, Expedia is here. But hey, that's a very different picture, right? We're getting a different types of mentions versus the clicks that we're actually getting in Google. Okay, so we said to ourselves, okay, we're not going to stop here. Let's see if we can understand the volatility that is actually happening between them. And so what we did is we look here at Google, and we see Google is actually fairly stable, right? Top results remains to be, for the most part, the top results. And as you go down, things are going to change. We did the same comparison by looking at ChatGPT for the full year, and then look at the last 3 months in comparison to them. And look at the fluctuation that you see between what people are actually getting mentions in the two. So it's pretty volatile and probably not as straightforward as you would think. Okay, so now this is where it actually gets really interesting, because when we think about it, we wanted to think about what is traffic actually to these places. And as we saw earlier, the incoming visits to ChatGPT has been grown. But check out the referral traffic that is going out of ChatGPT into this different domain. We're talking 1,282% growth. This is like 14 times more of what we've seen in last year. And that surge of referral outgoing traffic from ChatGPT is not unique just to travel. We've seen it in finance. We've seen it also in fashion and in other places. In contrast, if I'm going to look at Google, I see a fairly stable picture. Here in this example, we took Skyscanner and Rome to Rio, and they've seen somewhat of a similar types of level of traffic that they would be getting from Google. But this is how these websites are actually behaving, right, in ChatGPT from a referral traffic. And you can see that Rome to Rio, probably a website that is starting to get a lot more attention and a lot more referral traffic in comparison to other popular ones like Skyscanner. Now, the traffic is really volatile. Okay, so we've looked at mentions. We saw a little bit of traffic, but how do mentions result in actual traffic, right? So I showed you a few clicks ago the top travel brands that were actually mentions, right? Here we can see British Airways, Airbnb, and TUI. Now, we wanted to plot at the bottom, how does the traffic looks like over time in relationship to them? And so, while TUI was third in the ChatGPT mention, look at it at March. It is gaining more of the market share in comparison to the rest. And while British Airways was number one in mention, it's losing more of its traffic market share when it comes from the referral traffic of ChatGPT. Okay, so where are they going, right? We want to know which pages they went. So let's start with the home page. In Google, what you see is about 13% of traffic is going to the homepage. If you think about it, Google is really precise, and there's not always a reason to send you to the homepage. On the other hand, when you're looking at the traffic that is going actually to these different LLMs, what you see here, that there's a lot more referral traffic into the homepage. Okay, let's dive a little deeper. We see the same picture when people go into a folder that is depth of 1, 2, and 3, right? Deeper in the page. And it kind of like makes sense when you're thinking about Google because they became precise at it and they're actually in this business for quite some time. But look in the back, actually, they're catching up with Google. Okay, when we took it further and looked into a depth of 4+, this was really revealing. More of the traffic that went deeper in someone's site, okay, found itself in these pages. Now, our job is to, as an SEO, is to somewhat tell Google what is the importance of the pages on my website to the site hierarchy, if you really think about it. Now, if I'm looking at here, all the pages matter for these LLMs. Not only the pages that goes down, that are up at the top, but actually as deep as you go inside. So all content matter for these LLMs. Now, that gives us a sense of what is actually happening in the traffic. So what do I want you to take from here? The first thing is that LLM mentions are not equal traffic. And for now, they are unstable, but they're there. The second thing is that LLM referral page isn't optimal, but it's catching up, and it's catching up nicely. And probably the most surprising one in the last year, where we would think everything in Google is changing under, Google is fairly stable as an engine. Who would have think? Okay, so I'm not going to leave you apart. Now we're going to get into the clicks. So we went for the journey. We saw the input, we saw the mentions and the traffic and where it's going. And now we really care about what's happening when people come after those clicks into the page. Well, now we need different metrics, right? Here what we see is the engagement metrics associated with Google, which is minutes on page, about 8 minutes, and number of pages that they come at Google at 11. Hey, but look at ChatGPT. 11 minutes and 13 average page views, right? This is crazy, right? People are actually coming into this site. They spend more time actually there until they find what they have. Now, I'll contextualize it to what you saw at the beginning, which is the GPT primed them. By the time they actually came into these places, they have a certain level of trust that you have built with the answers that you got. And by the time you got there, you're willing to walk around through these pages. And the real kicker, probably the holy grail for every marketing team, is the conversion rate. And when we plot the conversion rate between Google and ChatGPT, look what's happening around December. The same conversion rate, if not a bit higher than actually in Google, and it's actually improving as we see it along. Okay, so we saw this source is amazing. And here's the thing that I want you to take from the engagement. The LLM engagement metrics are actually, as we see them, they're getting better and even sometimes better than Google. People spend more time on website and they visit more pages. The LLM conversions, as we saw, is actually catching up with what we've seen also from organic search. Now, I say to you, don't be scared of it. Embrace that traffic. This is an amazing traffic that you should be taking home and actually doubling down on it. And folks, people like you and me, and people out of here, are actually okay with less than ideal journey on your site. We're always being told, fix the page speed, make sure that the conversion is exactly happening. I don't know. The data is telling us something a little bit different, that people, when they come from these sources, they're actually very much have been looking for the things they want, and they will find it. Okay, so what does this whole thing mean for me as an SEO manager? We went through the full journey from the input to the mentions to the output, where they're going, and what the conversion looked like. But I'm going to go back to my boss and going to tell him all the questions that he has about ChatGPT and what's going on. Here's what are the things that I'd like you to take. First, LLM mention is not equal traffic. The output is not as good and the traffic is not as stable. It is still unstable. With that said, make sure that you're not only tracking the mentions, but actually paying attention to the traffic that is actually happening. The next thing is actually LLM traffic is a good traffic. And it's actually an opportunity for us as SEO to actually embrace it and take it and actually work with it and make our pages working for them. Watch those deep inside pages and optimize them, but actually the content do matter for LLM. And then the surprising buddy is Google. Google is stable. But guess what you gotta watch? All the behavior of users is changing. So you gotta make sure that you're looking at the size of the keywords, the types of keywords that repeats themselves when they actually come into Google and seeing what changes in the user behavior. So I'll leave you with this, that essentially the users are actually adopting fairly quickly these areas, and watch their adaptation because it's fairly quick. And it's bigger than any algorithm change that we're all busy about talking about, but actually the user is what matters. So let's start tracking them. If you want to learn more, we have a lot more data about probably your website and competitors' website. Come by, we'll be happy to share it with you. Thank you.
Demand sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.